So GPT5-Codex just dropped. It's a brand new model from OpenAI dedicated to us software developers. So in this video, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to check out GPT5-Codex to see, is it any good? Take a look at the benchmarks and run a couple of tests. We are going to take a look at a new stealth model that is getting a lot of traction on OpenRouter. Is this going to be a new version of Grok? Could it be something else? Let's check it out. We're also going to do a side-by-side check of Claude, GPT-5, Sonoma in a vibe check just to do a little bit of coding. And we're going to use CodeRabbit, the sponsor of this video, to do a little health check on all our coding and see how they all performed. So you have to hand it to OpenAI. They're really doubling down on the software development market, and I am absolutely here for it. The more competition, the better. So only just a month ago, Anthropic was absolutely dominating the software development market with Claude Code and its series of models. And GPT-5 was just starting to come on the scene, but a huge shift has started happening, largely due to a couple of different mess ups from Anthropic. Number one, there was a lot of rate limiting that was happening on their max plans and their pro plans. And then also loads of people took to Reddit to complain about the quality of the model. And Anthropic did come out and say there were some issues. I've been covering GPT-5 on this channel since it's been released, and I have to say I have been really impressed at what it's capable of. But how I have been working using a balance of GPT-5 and Claude, specifically for Claude for design. With this new launch of GPT-5-Codex, is it going to take over completely as my daily driver? Let's see. So let's skip to the important benchmarks. So looking at the software engineering bench, a slight increase, but the numbers are a little bit fuzzy here because GPT-5 was actually up at 74 when it launched, but due to a mess up with the software engineering bench testing, they didn't do all the tests. They had to change this scoring back. So now it's just back to where it was before using GPT-5-Codex High. So what we're also getting, the same as GPT-5, is 3 levels of reasoning. We have low, medium, and high, and that's basically how long the model is going to think on any given problem. And there also seems to be a meaningful increase on code refactoring tasks, although I'm not exactly sure how they're benchmarking this. And we have seen that models themselves have actually been cheating on some of the benchmarks recently. So again, you just have to test things out for yourself or wait a week or so to see what the sentiment is from the community. So another interesting thing we're seeing is this idea of dynamic thinking, the idea of thinking fast and thinking slow based on the problem. So let's say you have a simple problem that doesn't take a lot of reasoning time. The model can actually decide to do that really quickly and not apply a whole lot of thinking and reasoning against it. And then if it's a very complex equation or a complex refactor or something like that, it will actually dedicate a lot more time to it. So the promise here is if we're in pair programming mode and we're working over and back with the model, like I would in Cursor or Codex or something like that, it's going to move very fast. And that's what I want to see. But then if it's an agentic process and it's going to be running for a long time, it can think much longer on projects and refactors. And OpenAI claimed that it's run for up to 7 hours on specific problems unsupervised. Now, I don't know exactly what that means. I've often watched people work unsupervised for 7 hours and get nothing done. So it'll be interesting to see how this actually works out in reality. But what I like about Codex is you have multiple different options. You could have the CLI to run on a server, then you've got the extension in your IDE, and then you can run stuff or offload stuff to the cloud in the background. And I love having all that together. So the pricing model is staying the same for GPT-5, and you've got various different tiers that you can subscribe to, whether it's $20 upwards, and then you get a certain amount of rate limiting applied to that. So they're not giving us a lot of details on the rate limiting. Same thing with Claude Code, which like recycles every 5 hours, but they're saying that on the $20 plan that you could do a couple of sessions in a week and be fine. And then if you're more of a hardcore coder programming every day, you probably want to go up to one of the higher level plans. But I'd love to see more transparency on what the real rate limits are based on tokens, etc. But we're not really seeing that from the model providers. And what you do have to remember is that a lot of these are being subsidized. I've been calling this out from day one that at the moment it's important not to get too dependent on one of these tools because it can change very quickly how the pricing is being done. People are buying market share by reducing these prices and getting people in as cheaply as possible. Again, that's why in the past I've recommended a tool like Cursor because it allows you to switch between various different models quite reasonably. The good news is that a lot of these tools are built exactly the same. I can actually switch between OpenCode, Roo, Cursor, any of these very quickly and still be able to work in the same way. And to explain this -5 here, Cursor actually will charge you exactly the same for all of these models. It's just that they give you a little bit of a discount sometimes in bulk pricing. I am not sponsored by Cursor in any way. So personally, on a daily basis, at the moment, I'm using mostly GPT-5 with some Sonnet, and I'm experimenting a lot with GLM 4.5 because it's actually just really good value. So also this week, something worth paying attention to is two new models, Sonoma Sky Alpha and Sonoma Dusk Alpha. Now these are anonymous models. When you prompt and ask the model what it is, it says it's from Oak, but I don't believe that's actually the case. Never heard of that. A lot of people are theorizing that it's a new version of Grok, but we have yet to see. All I do know is that it's getting a lot of traction and usage. It hasn't been fully benchmarked yet, but it is getting a very warm response from the community. So by no means an extensive test, but I wanted to get a quick feel for this new GPT-5 Codex, comparing it against Claude Code and Sonoma. If you want a full breakdown of Codex, the background agents, the extension, and the CLI, check out my video from last week. So we have GPT-5 Codex, we have Claude Code, GPT-5 regular in red, and Sonoma Alpha run on OpenCode in green. We're going to see what the outputs are like, and we're going to get a second opinion on the code from CodeRabbit. So if you haven't heard about CodeRabbit, I highly recommend checking it out. It gives me a ton of peace of mind. So the bottleneck for me these days, it's actually reviewing the code to make sure that it's correct, safe, and production ready. So you can get it as an extension in your IDE. So whenever you're making changes to your code or you're running commits, it will actually ask if you want to review the code and fix all the issues. What I like about CodeRabbit is before you even push a PR, you can run a quick self-review and catch all the issues, things like hallucinations, missing tests. You can see all the recommended fixes and apply them one by one. So just recently launched, we also have the CodeRabbit CLI. So you can run it by just typing CodeRabbit in any terminal session, and then you can actually see a breakdown of what files need to be reviewed and jump into an interactive review process. So if you really want to stay in flow, you can actually run CodeRabbit in a headless mode. So just run it as a command or add it to a slash command or just simply add it to your prompt. So here I'm saying run CodeRabbit -- plain to keep it in headless and then fix any issues that you find. You can get started really fast by just running this command, and they have a really generous free tier to get you started. And I'll drop a link in the description so you can just copy and paste. So this is the prompt I used, and you'll note down the bottom here, I said use dummy JSON as we're in prototype design mode. So something I covered in the video last week and before is the idea of going into design mode first as your first prompt and then implementing the backend afterwards. So the finished apps I'm going to show you in a second was the results of two prompts. The first prompt was just to set it up in design mode, and then the second prompt was to connect to the API and the backend. Now, one thing I had done first is I set up each project with a base Next.js install, and then I asked each model to jump into the prompt. I didn't use any agents MD file or any kind of initialization, just to make sure it was a clean slate across all of the models. Okay, so here are the results. We have number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. I wonder, can you guess which is which already? So first up, we have Claude Code. So I'm just going to put in my prompt here, learn how to build apps with AI from scratch. Check out my course and community at switchdimension.com. Pick a style. So this is what we got from Claude Code. So pretty basic design, but very functional and tidy. This is what we got from our mystery model, Sonoma Alpha. Very similar in terms of color scheme, etc., to what we got from Claude, but I don't like the way these are squashed down here. I wouldn't call this a good preview. But it works fine and it functions. This is just a style issue that we could prompt and change. So this is what we got from GPT-5 regular. So anyone who's been using GPT-5 will recognize this very pulled back and tidy application style that it throws out. I actually, even though this is very minimal, I actually really like what GPT-5 does because it tends to actually have a very good sense of layout. Now, it's not stylistically the flashiest. It's actually very clean and forms a good base for me to design on top of using ShadCN or adding in my own color scheme embellishments. It functioned really well, and it even gave me character counts. And here's what we got from GPT-5 Codex. Now, I can see how this style might work in certain scenarios, but for a lot of the generations, it tends to give you something that looks quite similar to this. I think the problem here is it's trying a bit too hard on the design, and any of the generations I tried out, it was kind of hit and miss. So I really hope that the Codex version was going to give us an improved version. And it seems like OpenAI were listening, but they may have gone a little bit overboard here. What I'd inevitably like is something that sits somewhere in between this and this. What I would do is I would add your own styled library via ShadCN or upload some image inspiration from Mobbin or Pinterest just to correct the styling here. Or to be honest, what I'll probably be doing is still relying on Claude for my design work. Now, it's great to see how these frontier models have come along because I didn't experience any errors across any of the generations. Now, that being said, this is a very simple application. I'm going to be using this on a much larger code base and trying some of the more long-running processes across these models to see how they fare during the week. If you want to see how those experiments go, make sure to sign up to the newsletter on the Switch Dimension website or follow me on Twitter. So design is just one thing. Let's actually take a look at the quality of the code that was generated. So I went and I ran CodeRabbit across all of the projects. So let's check out the results over here. So no major issues for Claude Code, just some suggestions on the error handling for the JSON parsing. So if you click on any specific problem here, it'll actually give you some suggestions that you can actually run and implement. GPT5-Codex had a few points on consistency, but no major errors, and actually some pats on the back from CodeRabbit in terms of its robust error handling and validation. The regular version of GPT-5 had no issues either, but just a few comments on avoid using the any type for better type safety. What I really like about these little CodeRabbit suggestions is they feel just like a code review, comments that you get from another developer, and they're not as passive aggressive either. Our mystery model, Sonoma, then did come up with 3 issues that CodeRabbit suggested needed to be resolved. We were missing some input validation, some memory leak coverage, and then a range of different nitpicks. But despite all this, it did give us a functioning app. What I will say for Sonoma Alpha, whoever is running it, it is super fast. It's going to be really interesting to see how this is priced, who owns it, and to be honest, for the speed, it's something I could actually see myself using quite a bit. I just wanted to say a quick shout out to Andy. He's been a member of the Switch Dimension community for the last couple of months, and he has built a really cool application that actually tracks the movements of trees using Python and generates music based on the patterns. All of this without previously having any Python experience.